I saw the film and I said, "This is something we've got to have a better look at." We rarely see disabled as central people in a film, and there's no really good reason for that because everybody knows somebody that's got some sort of disability, and if you don't know that somebody like that, you will know that person in your lifetime. Your grandmother, your mother, your sister, your brother, somebody is going to have some sort of disability. So why don't we see them on the screen? That's a really good question, and there's no really good answer to that except people don't like to see disabled people. Or they like to see them as inspirational, or they like to see them as somebody to be pitied, or they like to see them as the evil person in the wheelchair, like Lionel Barrymore in It's a Wonderful Life. So when I saw this film, I said to myself, this is what we really need to be seeing more of. So I'm going to condense his career down to this. He made a lot of documentaries for the BBC. I believe he made some narrative films for them too. Is that true?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Then he came to the United States and was a director for many years. You probably saw his work on. Now suddenly I forgot the name of that series.
Ally
Ally
McBeal,
McBeal, thank you.
Touched by an Angel.
Many others. So he had a great career as a director, and then, as happens to so many in Hollywood, as a director or as a writer, even as a star, your career goes up, and then your career goes down, and then your career goes up, and it goes down. So for a long time, he was not writing, and he was doing other things, like selling watches. I think was one of your
Yes.
main things. And then one day, his agent said to him, "Well, why don't you write about raising a family as a disabled person?" Is that how it went?
Well, he suggested I write a sitcom about myself,
Okay.
and so I'm not quite sure what he meant. You know, a guy like me with a family sold watches. I don't. I wasn't quite sure where he was going. I think it was just an act of sheer desperation. Okay, you haven't worked for years. Why not try this? And so I was developing this idea called the GIMP, and in it the main character trades the use of his handicap placard for sex.
All right,
And
I'm liking that.
and in the course of researching this on the internet, looking for tasteless material, I stumbled across Mark O'Brien's article on seeing a sex surrogate, and that's when things turned a corner, and this particular story began. So it was pure serendipity. And it shows you what you can get out of wasting time on the internet.
How did you stay true to like this kind of story while infusing your own voice and your own artistry into it?
No, that's very interesting because ultimately you can't help, even if you're writing about another individual, you can't help incorporating your own voice and your own sense of the world into that vision of the other person. And I guess that I found in the character of Mark O'Brien enough similarities to the way I thought to feel that I could really say, express my own personal take on things through his character. And what I was really trying to do was not be true to who I was, but to try and create a plausible version of him. And it was through trying to do that, I think, that I was being true to myself.
Did you ever encounter any difficulty or resistance with marketing or distributing the film because of the reasons that were mentioned earlier, because people don't see disabled leads in movies, or because they were afraid it wouldn't be an uplifting story, or anything along those lines at any point in the process?
We were initially very concerned that I mean, I guess we should have been concerned about this before we made the film. but whether anyone was going to see it or not. But I think we blindly went through it saying it's a marvelous story, everyone will love it. And then at the end, you kind of are suddenly reminded, well, there's James Bond out there, and there's, there's the real world of movies, and disability, sex, religion, may not be the flavour of this month. But our strategy, such as that we had one, was to take the film to Sundance. They really created an environment for. I mean, the Sundance people, I think, were quite proactive in helping us promote the movie and trying to get the best sort of exposure. And the Sundance event kind of broke the curse. It was a wonderful audience, terrific response, and we sold the movie a few hours later to Fox Searchlight.
Was there anyone in any part of the process that was trying to make you cut back on the way you portray sex or the amount of nudity that you're allowed to use, like the MPAA or anyone?
Well, no, I think that okay, it would be. It's helpful to know that this was almost made like a home movie. There were no grown-ups in the room. All the money came from private individuals, from our friends and relatives that we hit up, and I think that the major difference between this and any conventional movie is that we had no one telling us what we could or couldn't do, including no one to tell us that Mark should have a miracle cure at the end and dance off into the sunset and so on, which would be a very typical, studio kind of move, I think. And I think that as far as the degree of nudity and sexuality, it was pretty much spelled out in the script. And I think that the actors were able to pretty much understand from the script that we were treading a fine line, that we did want to have a certain amount of shock value inherent in how candid the sex was, but really didn't want to go to a point where people were going to recoil. Certainly I didn't. So there was really no one censoring anything. And I think we just had a common feeling based on what was on the written page as to how far we wanted to go.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you.
And thank you.